G'day. How you going, Jexa and Hex enthusiast?
Yeah, going well, mate. Thanks for having us on again.
Of course. It's Friday, Arvo. It's the happy hour. G'day to the chat and g'day to my first beer of the day.
Yeah.
How's well, let us know how you're going in the chat, everyone. And if it's
an early start for you on Fridays, really, isn't it? Dozer?
Mate, I need to tell you what, I'm a bit dusty. I've been going to some Christmas parties and Sunday sessions and all this stuff. So
sweet.
And I got done by like a wasp or something yesterday while I was driving. I was like, so it's been hectic. It's been, and then
I thought you were about to say you got done by the cops drinking.
No.
Done by a wasp.
Nothing like that. No, I'm sensible. I was just driving and I got stung by a wasp. Yeah. Or some sort of like a redback or something. I don't know what it was, but bloody hurt. And there's not much you can do when you're driving as well. So
100%. Yeah.
I need a drink to just chill out on the Friday Arvo. It's also been a bit hectic in the crypto sphere with the whole ledger hack that's been going on.
Yeah.
That's why Jex is here, eh?
Isn't it?
Oh, Jex is going to tell us about it.
I've got like a one strike policy for shit like that. And when they gave away everyone's user data back in, Jesus, that was probably 5 or 6 years ago now, probably 5 years ago, I think. They gave away everyone's user data that had purchased a ledger. And if you had given them an email address on your order, now you just constantly get bombarded with phishing emails and you just
Hex postcards.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, that list has been out on the dark web and has been sold many times over.
Yeah, wow. So that is pretty bad.
That is bad. That's a
data leak.
That's the one thing you guys need to get right in this industry is not give away people's personal data. And they screwed the pooch on it. So for me, that was okay. These guys, if they can't handle data like that, you got to start questioning them.
That's why you just try not to even give them the data in the first place. I mean, because I noticed you, even when you get, I mean, I'm a Trezor man. I've always been Trezor, Team Trezor for the win. But I always use a fake name when I send it out anyway. So because it just comes to your house anyway, like it doesn't matter what name you put on there.
Yeah, that's right. And
you got your billing details, I guess. But
yeah, and I think they've got a policy now. They can say what they bloody like, so you never take this as gospel. But I think they've got a policy where they delete all the data after X amount of days or something. Anyway, at Trezor.
Oh, okay.
I'm assuming Ledger does as well now. You'd like to think they do. But
so
just
maybe you could talk us through what exactly happened. But I mean, so I'll give you maybe my basic understanding. So it seemed like the exploit was only sort of live for a few hours, and somehow, so somehow there was like some kit libraries or whatever it was that got uploaded. And that when you connect to some dApps, if it gets that malicious library or kit or whatever it was, it would pull up like a fake front end on top of when you do your wallet connect or whatever for Ledger. There would be like a fake one, and then that would actually drain it. So even if you did get exposed to it, you might have actually spotted that it's looked a bit sus from the graphic that I saw.
No, you're bang on. So people, when they build apps, they include a link to some company, whether it's Wallet Connect, Ledger, Third Web, those guys, and they actually have like a framework for a wallet modal that pops up, and it has all your Connect options like MetaMask, Coinbase Wallet, and all that sort of stuff. So they've intercepted that repo, the software repository, and inserted some malicious code. Which, man, I don't even know how they done that. That's a worry in itself that they...
Yeah, in the fact that they got something into a pull request into the GitHub or whatever,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So they've managed to somehow circumvent any approval mechanisms that would have been in place to stop anyone injecting code into that. So first of all, someone's injected some code into that repo, and then it all gets filtered out, and because they're using content delivery networks for a lot of this stuff, it gets cached at the last mile where everyone's pulling it from. So it takes a long time. Once they fix that, you've got to filter it through all the CDN network as well.
Right.
So unfortunately, people that had done the right thing and built their apps and are using this including this module, which brings up the modal, they're they didn't do anything wrong, but because the back end was compromised.
Yeah. So I mean that is the image that I've seen. So it brings up like a fake Wallet Connect over the top, so you can see in the background like what would have been the legit one, and then this is like over the top. So if you see some dodgy shit like that, like maybe don't maybe just stop what you're doing. Like but this is not affected as far as I know. This is not affected PulseX or any of that stuff. Like I saw Brett and a few other people had said, and this is Dust Balm, and he was sort of went through like the timeline of how it went down. I actually saw it from the Revoke Cash guys, because they were saying that even their front end had been exploited. So because people's initial reaction is to go on revoke.cash and
and start
undoing all their permissions, right? But that would have been the exactly wrong thing to do. So they took down their front end, and they were saying that depending on the DApp, whether they integrate Ledger's Connect Kit library, then that would be
with all the PulseChain DApps. I saw, Alex and a few others say that they've got nothing that's vulnerable. Same with PulseX, but what about all the other apps that were using?
Pateus not affected. Pateus was not affected, definitely.
Power City,
and I think that. Yeah, I think Power City were using that library, but they reacted very quickly and corrected the issue, and so all the teams were onto it.
Yeah, cool.
So it was some CDN call which called the malicious one. So
it's not the fault of the team delivering the UI at the end either. Like, let's just say this had to happen to Wallet Connect or whoever else is doing these. I can't remember the other big ones that are doing it. Just because one team didn't get hit with it this time doesn't mean they just didn't. It was by sheer luck. If it was one of the other teams that got, or one of the other providers that got hit, they would have been probably in the firing line. So a bit of good luck as well.
Yeah, and because it was limited to that amount of time, I think that was good. That everyone responded really quickly. But I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know. We see like last week there was the Web3 exploit as well, and so we seem to see a few of these things relatively often. I mean, not as bad as this. This had potential to be quite bad, but the crypto community is pretty quick to kind of go. Right, there's a problem with these contracts, or like the Open Zeppelin things that happened last week.
The community
if this had happened in a bank, you wouldn't even know first of all what the bloody root cause of the problem was, or what had taken place, or like you would get their PR filtered version flow out.
Exactly.
6 months later.
6 months later, and no one would have known what the hell was going on. Whereas at least, yes, we move fast and break a lot of things in this space, but things are also resolved very quickly. Unfortunately, if you were I think there was one or two wallets that did get drained. I think the sum total
wasn't a lot.
400K.
That's what I heard. In terms of like scams and things like that, that's not a lot, really. Like,
it's not a lot, but you wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that, and that's probably the one thing that we can't do in this space is if someone did get drained, they've lost it. There's no going to the bank and saying,
there's no recourse. No insurance as such.
Now I don't know whether maybe I know that the tokens got locked, which I'm in two minds about that sort of stuff that goes on as well. But the USDT or whatever it was got locked. is there a way of reimbursing the wallet that was drained? I don't know.
How are you going, 43 OG? Can you hear us, mate?
What's going on, guys?
Hey, how are you, buddy?
Heaps.
Good. So you guys have already gotten into the Ledger debacle, and
yeah, we thought we'd just get the bad news out the way, rip the Band-Aid off.
So Trezor has all-time high sales today for sure.
I bet they do.
Their website's probably down.
I think there was a few snide remarks or kind of cheeky sort of winking emojis coming from the Trezor Twitter accounts.
The biggest issue with Trezor over the years has been, I think, for a lot of people, and probably the reason why a lot of people did go with Ledger was because Ledger had like a cheaper option. They had like a under $100, like a $70, $80 option, and Trezor never had that option. They had the first one, the Trezor one, but that was, you had to type in your passphrases on the computer, and most people don't, like, you probably shouldn't do that, right?
No.
But now the thing is, Trezor have come out with a new one, and it's perfect timing really for them, isn't it? Because that new one,
we did talk about it, for the Black Friday sales, and they had that new one, and they were pretty good deals.
It's what's it called? Trezor Safe.
Trezor 3, I think, is it?
The Trezor 3.
Oh no, sorry, you're right. Trezor, I think you're right. Trezor Safe. Yeah.
And that's, I think, like the usability side of it is very similar to the Ledger, because it's got like 2 buttons and it's got a very basic display. Whereas the other model, the Trezor T, which was the only other model that
I like the T.
The T is good if you haven't got Shrek fingers like me.
Well, I was going to say that's the only thing is, and I think
or goblin eyes like me.
Oh, who was it that commented? It's a guy that's always in the chat. So apologies for missing his name, but he said the same thing as well. He goes, the only problem with the T's is for us, fat fingered guys, it's sort of hard to get in there. But I've always liked the Model T's, and I've always sort of seen it as like
you were thinking of buddy. You were thinking of that.
What was I thinking?
It has its advantages, its disadvantages, doesn't it? Come on.
Wow. Hey. It's a family-friendly show, is it? Maybe it's not.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
It's family-friendly.
That's just Somi. Somi is the one. Although he always says that when he says something with a bit of innuendo. Oh man, we got so much innuendo in this community. I think it's fair game. Yeah. But I've always thought of it as like the cost of doing business, right? So it's like, how some people, they sort of go, well, I can't afford a particular type of insurance, or I can't, for a business insurance or comprehensive insurance. And it's like, bro, if you can't afford the insurance, you shouldn't be driving a car. Like if you can't afford the business insurance, you shouldn't be running a business. Like that is the minimum cost to be able to do this. So that's kind of the way I think about these things. It's like, I'm not trying to save money on like, like some
that's I agree with you on that. I agree with you. It is, though, a hard sell for someone who's just getting into crypto. They probably only want to put in $1 or $2 grand, and you're like, oh yeah, by the way, of that $1 grand, go spend $300-400 on a Trezor T. They're like, they're going to look at you with a bit of skepticism.
I agree with what you're saying, but I mean, the other way to do it is like buy a laptop that is just, unadulterated, and just write down on a piece of paper or stamp it in metal, like the HexSafe Win thing, and then I think that's relatively safe. But
so
I prefer to generate the seeds.
See, the
problem with that is the seeds are still generated online, whereas at least if you buy a Trezor, right, you can you can generate the seeds offline.
So you're coming at it from that angle of the seed generation angle. So I've never relied, well, when I say never, in recent times, I haven't relied on seed generation of anything but just absolute random, do it yourself, flip a coin, randomness.
Yeah.
Because I find that like you can't fail that.
I think 12 words, 12 factorial is something like 70, what is it, 70 billion or something? It's a ridiculous number.
Yeah, it's like or something. Anyway, something crazy.
Oh, here we go.
About it.
479 million combinations for 12 words. What's 24?
Hey, I got a question.
God. To 10 to the power of 23. Okay, well, at that point, it's getting a bit ridiculous.
It's crazy. Hey,
you just have to trust the code. You have to trust that the code is good. And I believe because Trezor's code is open source, I believe lots of eyes have been over it, and I believe it's good. For seed generation.
Base Radiant's got a good point here as well. There's more words in the BIP words list. So, yeah, I think, but that's just even if you know the words, just the amount of combinations of the order that they can be in. So it gets pretty astronomical pretty quick in terms of just like being able to just guess. G'day to Johnny Rockstar and Hi Ho Hex. How you going?
So
Here
you go. Yeah.
I was just going to say, when I talk about the trusting the code to generate the seed, the issue is with trusting the code, and we can trust the Trezor code, I guess, because plenty of people have run their eyes over it. But the issue that you have is that what if there's something wrong in there that like repeat generates, like does something repetitively in it's like not totally random, right? And that's the issue. And I think we heard I don't know who it was, but on Twitter there's someone talking about Bitcoin seed phrases which were generated a few years back that had that issue. If they were generated by this particular software at this time, then there was a high risk of it being hackable.
I think because the software you're talking about was actually it's published in the Bitcoin Standard book as well, I think.
Oh, really?
So people, yeah. I'm pretty sure it dates back.
That's the issue you have, because if down the track someone finds an issue with code, like later on, and they're like, okay, well, all the seed generated from using this code is no good. Well, then anyone who's generated, then people can go back and reverse engineer and work out. And that's what happened in that particular case. So I love the idea, if you can, of just doing it yourself, of just like having complete random, go to the trouble of, and you only really need one seed phrase. You can have multiple, but you can have one seed phrase and you can have 50 passphrases.
Nice.
Just to sort of steer the ship back to some happy news, because I always feel obliged with the happy hour, even though I've given the disclaimer that happiness is a choice and it's it's sort of up to you. But there is currently no fees to bridge across to PulseChain. So Richard Hart talked about that the other day. What do you guys think about that? The gasless bridging.
I found out by accident. I thought I was scamming the bridge. Damn it!
You're like, take that, bridge.
Are your bridges big enough to notice the difference? Are they? Come on.
No, it's just because they show you how much is going to come out on the other end.
Yeah.
And I noticed that how much was going to come out on the other end was exactly the same. And I'm like, oh, maybe it's just like a front end,
glitch or something.
A GUI.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm sure they'll take their pound of flesh. And then
normally they do.
Apparently not.
This time, it looks like there's been a bit of a, Papa Richard has given us with his Santa sack, has given us a bit of a Christmas present.
So when we're bridging across, let's just say whatever asset you're bridging across, that's you'd pay the fee in that asset that you're sending to the bridge, I'm assuming.
Usually,
Or on the wrapped, what do you pay it on the wrapped side? So I guess the long and the short of it is, if you send Ethereum to the bridge, on the outgoing side, you'll lose a portion of your wrapped Ethereum. I'm assuming.
Yep.
Is that
So?
That's the way it
Well,
works.
I think
43.
It's proportional. It's proportional to how much you're bridging across, I think. So
yeah, there's a 0.3% bridge fee, but then there's also the gas. There's also the gas cost of sending that trend, because you're just sending it to another address, right?
Yeah. The validators have to have gas on the Ethereum side.
Therefore, the fee would go to the PulseChain side, right? Because it goes to the validators. Is that what you're saying, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So there's two different things we're separating here. So the actual fee to do the bridge, which is an arbitrary fee that they can choose to charge and however much they want to charge.
Yep.
And I'm assuming that's taken out in whatever asset it is you're bridging across. And
yes,
that must go to the bridge operators, I'm assuming, or a portion of it. But then you've obviously got gas costs associated. Now, you're not saying that the gas costs are subsidized in any way, I'm assuming?
No. It's just that you pay that fee. You pay that fee regardless. That send fee.
I'll tell you what I have been looking at this morning.
Yeah, Jexa, have you got tell us. Have you got some good stuff to tell us?
Yeah.
Or?
So, I think I know next to bugger all about what I'm going to talk about, but it was just something that Eric Voorhees.
Welcome to the club.
Yes,
you're
in good company here, mate.
Yeah.
And I think is it layers or 0x or layer 0 or something like that.
Right.
It's a protocol. I'll have to go back and have a look at, and this is what I'm saying. I know next to fuck all about it, but it's all the cross-chain interoperability stuff. So
yes,
basically, long and the short of it is you've got a protocol that sits there. So it's not a blockchain or anything like that, from what I understand, but it's a protocol that facilitates, has contracts sitting on one network and contracts sitting on the other side of the network, and it allows you to basically pass information from one blockchain to the other at sort of like an atomic level, which is that's a game changer. And it's permissionless, totally decentralized. Anyone can jump in and be a relayer and things like that.
Sounds
I'll dig out the link. I'll dig out the link in a minute. It is worth a watch. It's like a 14-minute video, but this is the shit that we've been missing.
Yeah, stick it in the chat, man. We'll check it out.
This is a recent video.
I'll dig it out. It was on my timeline. I'll just while we're talking,
no worries.
Find it.
I also was going to ask you a couple of things about liquid loans as well, if you can multitask, because you are the liquid loans man, and you know all this sort of stuff. So there was a couple of really cool things going on. I mean, obviously, liquid loans is launched. There's I think a giveaway that they're doing at the moment. There's like a 1 billion pulse challenge. So I think it is still going until the end of today, like UTC time. And
I'm not much chop on what's going on in terms of giveaways and stuff like that. I can tell you a lot about the protocol, but I haven't been paying attention to any.
I've got questions. I've got questions for that as well. This is a quick check. If, by the way, if you want to know UTC time and you can't be bothered, here we go. It's nearly 6 a.m. UTC on the trading view. So yeah, apparently until the end of today, liquid loans are giving away 1 billion pulse. And one option is to somehow share the social media graphic. And then the other option is just to open a vault. So
did you have you didn't have to give any information away with the vault opening? I did read that and I thought, who's going to want to post that they've opened vaults and stuff?
I didn't know if you had to. I thought that they could just track it by vaults.
Possibly, yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
But I didn't think you actually had to publish that you'd done the vault. I mean, there is a bit of a limiting factor there because it's like what, $2,000 to do a vault. And then you need at least 150% collateralization. So, and if say you wanted like 1,000%, that's like $20,000 USD. So it's a bit cost prohibitive for most people. But yeah, so this is the dApp, and you can create a vault, and then you can adjust your collateralization ratio there. I think probably the easiest thing to do is do a social media post, to be honest.
Don't get doxing yourself just to go in the draw to win a prize. It's
to win a chance of winning a billion Pulse.
It's rarely worth that.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I guess, in terms of the DAT, it's pretty straightforward. You can do the borrowing. You can stake your USDL, and that's 300% APR at the moment. You've got the staking. You can stake your loan, 63% APR. They've got the LP rewards, where if you provide USDL PLS in like a liquidity pool, you stake your LP tokens, and you get loan like additionally to the fees from the pool.
Yep.
There's the liquidations thing. You can connect. In fact, I've got my on-stream wallet here, so you can see what liquidations, if they're below 110. Is it below 110%, and then you can liquidate them? And
as soon as it hits 100, as soon as it hits 110, then it's up for liquidation. Yeah, and
you can liquidate them, and then you get some percentage of their vault that gets liquidated. Is that right?
Correct. You get there's a $200 what they call a gas fee, which was a sort of a hangover from being on the Ethereum network, where you needed to be subsidized for running the gas to do a liquidation. The team brought that across. It's probably way much. It's a big overkill for PulseChain, but who knows what's going to happen in 5 years.
I guess if the price of PLS dumps, it might be worth having a look at, like, the liquidations thing and see if there's some risky vaults. Although I suspect that bots could probably do this.
Yeah, this would be, if there's not already bots running this, I know many people that would fire them up and be running them. So,
and it also looks like the redemptions is live as well, so you can now redeem.
That's probably as of only like a day or so ago, I'd imagine. Last time I checked, it wasn't, but that's important that's live now. That was a little bit of a missing piece of the puzzle. Not a massive issue. It is something people need to be aware of, and there's probably a little bit of misinformation around how the redemptions work. So probably worth just spending 5 minutes on that. So if you put Pulse into a vault and take a loan on it, you've got to make sure that you get your collateral levels at the right level so that you don't get liquidated. But even if you've done that correctly and you've got your collateral ratio sitting at 250+%, if someone comes in and redeems, so they don't have a vault or anything, they've just gone and brought off the market some USDL, right? Because it was cheap, it was sitting at 95 cents or whatever. So they've gone and brought as much of that as they can.
Yes,
they can take that across to the redemption side and redeem however much they have. Now, the risk for the vault holders is if you're ranked lower, so that list you showed there with where it was ranking the collateral ratios for the liquidations.
Yes.
If you're at the top of that list, you are first on the list to get redeemed against.
Right.
So what that means is if someone sends $1,000 worth of USDL into the redemption screen, they're basically what they're saying is, I'll give you $1,000 in stablecoin. You need to give me $1,000 worth of Pulse back.
So
Pulse. The system has to get that Pulse from somewhere.
Yeah, and the riskiest vault is the one that goes first.
So what it'll do is it'll take that USDL, the $1,000 worth of USDL, and it'll pay down any debt in that vault. So it'll pay $1,000 down worth of debt in that vault, and then take $1,000 worth of collateral off the collateral side of that vault. So just be mindful of that. So I guess the ultimate doomsday scenario, if you wanted to draw that out to the worst possible thing that could happen,
please,
someone goes and buys up all the USDL off the market, whether they're doing that, and they wouldn't do it at $1. It's pointless to do it at $1. They'd have to be doing it at a discount to make it worthwhile.
Sure. Yes.
So they go and buy up as much USDL as they can, and then they do a massive redemption against the system. That could happen in theory, but the system has a mechanism where it adjusts the redemption fee.
Right.
So for the average person to just come and do a small redemption, you pay 0.5% is the minimum redemption fee.
Mm-hmm.
But it scales up to a maximum of, I think, 5%.
Okay.
So what that means is they'd have to be buying, if someone wanted to do that en masse, they'd have to be buying it at a 5% discount off the market to make it worthwhile.
I saw you had a post on Twitter, and you should follow Jexa for other nuggets like this, but you were sort of just pointing out that there is the arbitrage opportunity as well, where like when the price of USDL goes above $1.10, then effectively you can create a vault and borrow the USDL at 100%, and then it doesn't matter if you got liquidated because you'd have more than the vault minus the fees.
You would want to get liquidated. You would just keep pushing it through and getting liquidated. Yeah.
And then so that was a really cool thing. And I noticed even the Liquid Loans guys have got like a full blog thing on how to arbitrage USDL, and they're just like, it depends on whether you're talking if it depegs to the downside or if it depegs to the upside. There's different ways of doing it, because I guess it's in their interest for people to arb this so that it does keep its peg, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what this is designed to do. Is it's an open market where all the players come together, and so some of the players come and provide stability to the system. They get rewarded for that. People that just want to do the arbitrage, they get rewarded for that. And that's the way these markets work. That's how stable coins stay stable, is people are arbing them all the time to keep them in balance. But in particular, there's a few mechanisms in this system that put sort of like caps on the arb opportunities, and that's the one you just showed in my Twitter.
Yes,
is the 10% upside cap, where if it goes above 10% above $1, then it sets up a play where you can just keep redeeming it, keep recirculating the coins through the system, and ultimately it'll bring the price back into peg. So it sort of caps how far. There's a what we call sort of hard caps. So this is more of a hard cap, where there's mechanisms that would stop it going above a certain price, and then there's soft pegs, which are what the market does. So the market's going to keep it in a soft peg just because of the arb opportunities.
Awesome. Thanks for explaining that, Jexa. And I had one other question, which was about the multi-sig. Are they still going to do that safe thing with the multi-sigs?
Yeah, so that's up and running. Yeah.
Oh, is that up and running, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's the PulseChain safe is the multi-sig stuff.
Whereabouts is that? Let me just pull that up, because I thought that hadn't been launched yet.
PulseChainSafe.com. It's just a very cut
down. Put my beer down.
It's a very cut down version of Gnosis.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking. I'm literally putting my beer down for this. That's how excited I am. I was doing that with a beer in one hand, but I'm like, hang on a tick. So PulseChainSafe.com. Okay. It's not as pretty as the other sites, but
yeah, but that's what this is. It's just meant to be a simple interface where you can go in and use Gnosis safe contracts on PulseChain. Now, there's some caveats with it. There's some caveats though. Okay. If you have a Gnosis safe on Ethereum that got forked over, you can't access it.
Right.
So this is a front end the front end's been run up by the Liquid Loans team, and the supporting contracts have been deployed by the Liquid Loans team. So what that means is anything that was on the contracts that the Gnosis team had rolled out on ETH side, we can't do much about. They're separate contracts.
Yeah.
Would they ever open that up for? Would they ever open that up for? The forked contracts?
I don't think it's in there. It's not in their power to do so. You're relying upon the Gnosis Safe team, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there's
really
a couple
cool.
of particular.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, there's a couple of particular contracts that they deploy and operate. So hence why I think there's been, and I think that's why we've had issues with the staker side of things as well.
Because the Gnosis
there's no front end. Yeah, there's no front end where people can.
There's no PulseChain front end.
PulseChain front end. Yeah.
That is not staker app.
Correct. Yeah.
So that multi-sig thing surely is pretty cool. Like, I don't know, is there some downsides?
Yeah. So the pros and the cons, and I'm still like, I think it's a good way that the industry's moving in terms of like having, I guess, smart contract type accounts, but obviously there comes along some risk with that. It's great because now you're not locked into one set of seed words and things like that. Mm-hmm. So if you needed to change ownership of stakes and things like that, you could do it all.
Or if one got compromised, then
or if one got compromised, that's right.
Too, right? Yeah.
Yep. And it frees you up for if you're traveling around, you've got more flexibility about how you access funds on the move, and you don't have to carry keys across lines and things like that. So there's clever things you can do. You could land in a country and then fire up a device and get that added as a signatory and things like that. So there's clever things like that you can do.
Awesome.
Downside is things like forks and stuff like that, you still have issues with. So, or if there's, what else is a scenario?
There's contract risk. There's added contract risk.
There's added contract risk, but I think you all know, like having your seed words gives you a lot of flexibility from a legacy point of view, where if you need to, you can go chuck them into any device and access your funds. And okay, so you lose some flexibility there.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I'll have to have a look into it.
I think if you personally, I wouldn't do any stakes in something like that.
Sure.
But if you're holding liquid assets that you can easily relocate, that's fine. Yeah, okay. But I wouldn't be doing any big stakes or anything like that in that sort of technology yet. Hopefully that'll all get better.
Cool. And it looks like this is your that layer 0 thing you were talking about.
Yeah, check it out, guys. It's a good watch. That's a game changer sort of stuff.
I haven't watched it, but what's the time frame? Have they given any sort of time frame for when things like this are going to be?
It's live, man. It's up and running. Yeah, so this is actually, it's live. They're going into V2. So this video is talking about the changes they're making on V2.
Okay.
Why haven't we heard?
Actually, we did talk about this. We did talk about this with Bluey about 6 months ago, very briefly, but we didn't know anything about it though.
Yeah, and we were talking about ThorChain a bit, which is sort of similar, but this one's next level, where smart contracts can talk to smart contracts. So you can be running a smart contract on Polygon, and it feeds information through this layer 0 network and talks to the hex contract, for argument's sake, or any contract.
Is that from what you know, and I know it's early days, but does that limit everything to EVM?
No, I don't think it. Don't quote me on it. I don't think it does, because they've come up with some. I can't remember what they called it, but there was some mechanism where it's basically they're putting a common language or framework that they've constructed. Yeah, and that's sort of the bridge is not the right word, but it's the intermediary between allowing different chains to speak their own language. So it's like it's like an interpreter or something.
So that's swapping stuff over, right? Swapping stuff from one chain to another, or bridging?
Cross chain.
It's not bridging.
It's not bridging. It's swapping.
I think it's actually like, it's sort of
you've got Bitcoin, and then you end up with Ethereum. Like you say, I want this Bitcoin, I want to send it over to Ethereum network, and you get Ethereum on that side.
I would look at it differently, and I could be wrong here. Like I said, I'm shooting from the hip here. Maybe not so much from a native coin perspective, but from contract to contract sort of movements. So I don't know whether it's ever possible to do an atomic swap with a native gas coin. I don't know whether that's ever possible. But to be able to move, something from one contract through to another, so wrapped assets, obviously, or like the equivalent, or tokens and things like that. But yeah, definitely worth a look, because if this takes off, this is the thing I've been saying. What's that?
Do they have a website?
Yeah, I think Dozer just had it up. This is the next evolution of like what the step change we had with Uniswap. This is the next evolution of that. You can hopefully get rid of exchanges, like centralized exchanges, altogether, except for obviously bringing your filthy fiat into the system.
Oh, Hex Enthusiast isn't wearing his fiat and shiat shirt. What's going on?
This one. Got this one.
Nice.
DJ Credides. Is that how you say it? I don't know. But yeah, he sent
DJ. Yep.
We forgot to get it
another
at the meetup. So yeah, he sent it down to me. So stoked.
Oh,
on that.
that's nice of him.
And
he's a legend. Yeah.
Got the hat as well.
Nice.
All pimped out, but yeah, I thought I'd leave that one for today.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
No, DJ Credits is a champ. He and he does BJJ as well. So I think he's a purple belt or something. So he's like a dangerous man.
I think
how you been?
Because seeing those photos, I was like, oh, look out, he's a force to be reckoned.
That's no joke, man. Purple belt.
No, yeah.
How's your BJJ been going? 43.
I did my shoulder about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, that's rough.
Gets harder as you get older, doesn't it? It takes
and it takes time. So
was it a Kimura? My shoulder's pretty fucked from a Kimura as well.
No, I didn't get caught. I was they were in the process of, it was like armbar-ish, I'm gonna say, but I wasn't. My head was like in, if you know what I mean. It wasn't out.
Yeah.
My head wasn't excluded from it. So my head was in, and I was moving, and he was trying to do all this stuff, and I kept rolling.
Yes.
And so it was interesting. I was testing the limits of my flexibility, and I think some of the muscle fibers weren't in agreement. So they just
I know that one. I know that one, bro. I've been doing some what do they call it? It's a Shia thing where you have this like you get this start off in a Muay Thai grip, and you got to try and throw each other, and there's another one that we do this randuri thing where it's like off a random attack, and you got to try and throw it. So you're constantly getting thrown like uchimatas and bloody hip throws and everything, and you're just landing on your shoulder going But
knowing how to land is an art unto itself.
Oh yeah, break falls.
You don't do a lot of throws in BJJ, do you?
No.
We do BJJ from stand up as well. So we start
we do
from standing.
It depends what gym you're in. Like different gyms will have different. Like the gym that I've got was very wrestling focused, like very wrestling focused. So a lot of we always had like. So, we always drilled single legs, double legs. We were never like, it's frowned upon to like just fall to your back. And
pull you don't like see that fucking bum scoot bullshit where people are like trying, and you just like, get the fuck up.
You don't want to be in that situation. Like if you don't want to be like on the concrete and then pull guard, you know what I mean? You don't want to get like
no.
You've got the concrete, so you fall to your back. Like bad move. Like you want top position if you can. Like
yeah, in terms of self-defense, you don't want to go to the ground at all. But it's like if you're going to at least do it in a way where you land on.
But it's probably going there.
If it's going there, then you just gotta make sure
it's going down. It's probably going down.
That's funny as. All right, we should probably get it back to crypto. Have you guys? Is there anything else you guys have noticed in the crypto world this week that's been happening?
I'm just going to say goodbye, guys. I've got to head off, but nice chatting to you, and I'll be listening in the car on the drive home. So I'll catch you
good
next
to
time.
chat to you. 43. We'll see you next week. Thanks, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, buddy. Yeah, so I mean, I can think of a couple of things. Power City launched the other day.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. I did my
actually,
standard.
one of the novel things they've done, which I think is pretty nice, is the so that when you
the core or whatever it is.
Yeah, so with their core, so that was the main thing that launched, was their core, and that it's like how did you describe that? That's going to be the place where all the revenue from everything else they launch feeds back into. So if you're a staker in the core, you get a feed of all the revenue generated on the rest of the protocols they have. But it was pretty cool the way they've done it, where you were given an NFT and you claim your NFT, and that was automatically staked, and it has your stake balance in the NFT. And they've done a good job with the artwork on the NFTs as well.
Yeah, very cool. I must admit, I was a bit confused, but I was like, oh, because I sacked and I was like, oh, we've got our what, and it's in NFT form, and there was some bonus or something. It was already staked, so you had to unstake it.
2x bonus. Yeah, it was a different way of doing it. Good way to try and keep people holding it rather than doing the old dumper.
Yeah, I did consider not selling it for a little while. I was like, ooh, 2x, you say. But I think, once these things dump off that first initial thing, you can buy them back up. Like, I mean, it's like that loan thing, right? I was sort of having a bit of,
every project's done it. Doesn't matter what one it is. Pretty much all of them have. It seems to be everyone takes the quick win, and then you get your price discovery.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is even if it does dump initially, you can generally buy back your position, a bit lower if you catch it early. I mean, loan actually did quite well, I think, during the week. So that was actually one of the ones that had a bit of a recovery. But yeah, Power City. So the stakes and the NFT. So the Earn protocol isn't out yet. Is that right? Like, so the Earn is the one that's like Liquid Loans, but it's the PLSX version. Is that right?
Yeah. And they've made a few tweaks to theirs as well. So that $200 gas fee that we spoke about,
the
liquidations, that's reduced.
The liquidation thing. Yep.
And they've also reduced their minimum loan amount. Now,
I heard that.
Don't quote me on it. It's either 200 or
no, it's 500. I think it's 500.
500, is it? Yeah.
I think I remember KDP talking about it. Shout out to KDP. And she was just sort of saying, like, it might be better for, it's a lower price entry, I guess. So if you're talking about like 1,000% collateralization, it's only 5,000 USD to get that 1,000% rather than 20,000 if you're going with Liquid Loans.
Exactly. Yeah. So it gives you, I guess, a bit more optionality if you wanted to do with smaller amounts and things like that. Don't know how it's all going to play out. We've just got to see how it all lands. But I think the stable coin should be rock solid. Like it has the exact same. Yeah, it has the exact same mechanisms as Liquidity, as Liquid Loans, and you can see on the charts like with Liquid Loans we're seeing a little bit of variation because redemptions weren't open, so you don't have something to protect the downside peg.
Gotcha.
So that's operating. We've already discussed the upside peg about the 10%, but the market, they understand what these assets are, so the market takes care of it. And there's going to be more. The more stable coins we have like that, the better options we've got. So we're actually
a downfall with the CST.
Sorry, you go.
Do you see like a downfall at all happening with the CST stablecoin, like pegging up to the dollar mark, or you think that'll get back up there again soon?
Yeah, so I don't know enough about the CST and their mechanisms for redemptions and things like that, but that's just from a outside looking in. If they're having issues where they're deviated away from peg a little bit, then it would be because there's not a way to redeem it to bring it back up or something like that. Yeah. So that you may just need to.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. So what's it sitting at?
It's pretty good. 97. So this is in USD. 97 cents.
It's close.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's not bad. It's stable, so it's good, but there probably needs to be some freer mechanism to be able to redeem it to close that ARB gap.
Yeah.
So that's probably all that is, and I don't know, like I said, I don't know enough about the fees on their platform and how easily you can redeem and bring it back out. And if there's not that mechanism, that makes it a little bit tricky.
The only way I can see redeeming it is taking it back off into fiat, because that's what or back into US dollars in their
port. But then so then you got the fees.
Yeah,
that's right. So you got to round trip it through the normal bank, which makes it hard.
Yeah, exactly.
So PXDC isn't out yet. The Power City stablecoin, I don't think is out yet. Is that right?
In saying that though, Hex enthusiasts, they might be able to, and I don't know whether they do this yet, they might be able to set up a redemption pool with Pulse, because I know they've got Pulse on their platform.
True. Well, you can swap. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So if you can swap one CST for $1 worth of Pulse, that will close that gap.
Awesome.
I'm going to check if it's swapping for one CST is $1 worth, or if it's 97 cents worth. I'm not sure.
It's got to be $1 worth, otherwise it doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, then, that'll work, and maybe that's why they brought that in, and they've also got rid of the fees on that, so it's completely free, 0 fees to do swaps on their front end. So maybe
so that's obviously what they're trying to do. So they're obviously aware of it.
Sweet, very good.
Yeah, but in answer to your question, the more quality stables we have, the better off we are, because let's face it, the ones we've got at the moment still have bridge risk.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's for sure.
And so now we've got Tetra, you can do the limit orders for the PulseX pools. There could be some ways that you could actually just set this up so that you shout out to Red Squirrel there, sorry. So you could set this up with a limit order if you wanted to say capture that USDL when it went above 1.1 cents or something like that, or buy cheap USDL or cheap, so you can do these ARBs with a limit order. So you could just do it while you're asleep, and then redeem it, and then presumably after the fees turn a profit.
Yeah, so we've got so many different avenues now to keep these things in equilibrium, so they're only going to get more and more stable as more options come on, and I reckon it's a good thing. That was above and beyond all the loan stuff on these protocols. It was never about the loan stuff for me. It was always more about the stablecoin side of things. It just so happens that the liquidity protocol's got a nice mechanism for the way it does it. It's quite elegant, but it's not without shortfalls. So the biggest shortfall in all of these is scalability. So CST is good. They can infinitely mint. They can infinitely mint CST purely based on how much dollars comes into the system. But if you've got an unlimited amount of dollars that you can bring into the system, you can mint the corresponding coins. Whereas with the liquidity protocols, you are capped by the supply of Pulse or PulseX. You can't mint more than that's ever worth.
I used Coast again this week, and it's
nice
well again and nice and smooth. So shout out to them.
Coast is awesome. They're pretty cheap.
So
I think
is Red Squirrel saying that you can basically set up like a straddle, so you could have?
Yes, I think that's exactly what he's saying. Yeah. Well, it's coming. So the next update. So we were talking about the Tetra Omni sort of limit order thing. So you could set it up. So you say, if you bought 1,000 USDL at whatever price, and then you could set it up so that you do a sell for the inverse of it, so that you make a profit. So like you say, like you straddle both sides of it. So when it depegs one way, you buy it, and it depegs the other way, you sell it, and then it's just a matter of time, and then you arb the difference and you profit.
Red Squirrel, how are they doing the limit orders? They're processed off chain, are they?
Good question.
How does that actually work?
Because Matcha use 0x, don't they? They use some sort of. So these, I have no idea how they do it. Although, so 9-inch had limit orders, but that was just for their 9-inch pools. Whereas I guess this Tetra limit orders is using the PulseX pools. That's the point of difference, isn't it?
Yeah. And was that on Pulse side as well, or just ETH side for 9-inch?
The 9-inch. I don't know. I never used it.
Yeah.
Sure. I was dirty on 9-inch once their 9-inch and BBC just kept plummeting in real time. And I was like, I got out of the farms and things like that. And I was like, screw you.
And it's plummeted. Absolutely. It's
so
almost
Red Squirrel with the.
Down.
Hang on.
Sorry.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, that's the incentive token anyway, but it was pretty horrendous. It's funny when you have to go log and like zoom out to see. But anyway, I think I talked about that many weeks ago. Let me just stop this. That the yield farming works where you're getting like a high APR in 2 tokens, but if the price of those tokens are plummeting so fast and you can't harvest the yield fast enough, then you're not actually making like decent money, and it's just pretty soon you start losing money.
Yeah, but that was always the case, and that's why I don't understand why everyone was getting so moist about the ink token, because it was
just at the start. So for the first week, so that with 9-inch, it literally was profitable for like about a week, where you could just harvest and you could sell, and you were making like, it was ridiculous. It was like, although their APR I think wasn't quite right either. But there was a point, there was like an inflection point where it was, the performance was so bad that even the yield wasn't compensating for it. So
that's how you come up with the term locust, because that's all they do is they just go in and raid a farm short term, and then they move on to the next one. Yeah, that's the only way you can make money out of it. So I was never that keen on like ink. I just seen as that token. Everyone had massive hopes for it. I guess the only good thing for the ink token was it was disinflationary, and I don't know whether the cake ever was.
Did you hear about? There's a bit of been doing the rounds just in the past 2 hours or so, talking about people have been circling something on the PulseX website about there being second incentive token.
Well, I saw that post, but I suspect that user has not been around maybe for the longest of time, because they, like, do you remember with all the test nets, right? Cast your mind back 2 weeks to when it was testnet V2 and testnet V3 and all that sort of stuff.
Longer than that.
I know, it seems like it's longer. We're only living in this 2-week window forever in perpetuity. And you could actually go on the test net, and there was like this whole DAO thing, and you could put in comments, and you could put in whatever it was, proposals, and people could vote on it. They had all that. They had it all in the test net. It hasn't come out yet, and maybe it will, maybe it won't. But I don't know. DAO's like, it's a bit of a. I'm not terribly interested in like.
I mean, unless it can be all done on chain and you don't have to trust anyone, then it's
so there's a couple of things. So we have to be fair, right? So the OA, when it's sacked for PLS and then again for PLSX, it has a ridiculous amount of those tokens. So if it depends on what the DAO token is, because at any level, you know, the sacrifice addresses could control the way that those votes on those proposals go, assuming that they were going to vote. But so there's not enough information. And then even then it's like, so if we're going to vote on how much yield that certain pools get, I think that's a good thing, because I think that the emission rate and all the different pools, you know, people could propose certain pairs. I think that's a good use of it. But unless it's financial, I'm not really, you know, people are putting proposals.
If it's something that has to be done like marketing, or that's not the place for it.
Yeah.
And that was one of the big issues I had with Colt when that was all firing up.
Yeah.
Is everyone was going, oh, this is a DAO, we've got what was the manifesto and all this bullshit. But basically you had to trust people. Like, I nominate Joe over there. We're going to give him whatever it was, 10 ETH, and he's going to invest in BB coin, and when it 100x's, he'll give it back. And I was like, really? Like, that's
sounds legit.
The point of it. That's missing the point of it all. But that, just to come back on your thing, Hex Enthusiast, as it was always going to be PulseX. That was the DAO token.
Yeah, that's it.
And
that's why
it was.
Yeah, when I saw this post, I was like, and a few people had shared it, and it was like a bit of, you know, hype for a little bit there. And now, 2 hours ago now, and I was like,
I think
it
could be a like case of Chinese whispers.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's like, it just shows how quickly FUD can develop. Well, not FUD, but you know, like hype that's not real.
Yeah.
And it's the narrative, and someone could just go in and be like, oh crap, let's buy, you know, it's about to go big. Or ink might have a purpose now all of a sudden. And it's like, bloody hell, just anyway, people should just think before they get on it, on the bandwagon.
I don't know, and like I could be really wrong, and I've been wrong before, like disclaimer. But from the very start, I was kind of like, because people were talking up ink as going to be, you know, or for whatever reason, it's like the dark horse, and you know, there's some sort of like, you know, narrative, and you're kind of going, but hang on, the more yield, like the more people use these yield farms, the more ink you're getting, like that's, and then how do you extract value out of your yield farming and it's to offset your impermanent loss, right? So you might be losing money because Pulse is going up, but you've got it in a pool or whatever. You need to sell that ink to offset. Like it's a sell. It's got a lot of sell pressure. It's a nice way to put it. So then people were telling me all this stuff, and I'm going, I still don't get why you're bullish on it with so much sell pressure. But I could be fully wrong as well. Like,
so my term for that is most protocols that we come across have a sink, and that is a final destination where funds all flow into, and it's got to be a sacrificial sort of token that infinitely mints or something, so that it can keep perpetuating. And you can put all these different Rube Goldberg things in place so that you flow from one thing into the next thing, and it gives you something else, and you take that and put it in. And there's a lot of complexity and systems I've seen do that.
Value transfer.
Yeah, so you're value transferring into the next token, then the next token, and it keeps people stuck in yield farms and staking and things like that. But ultimately, the value's got to sink somewhere. And it's only when the way you get around that is you have protocols that actually provide a service and produce a fee. So people are paying a fee for that service. So it's not coming from an infinitely minted yield token. You're capturing the value in the protocol by way of people paying a fee to use the protocol. And that's so things like,
so
I'll go back to
utility. You have to give it utility, and this is the thing, is like, if you're going to reward people with like an emission token, like for yield farms or whatever, then people are just going to sell it, unless. And so the shout out to the Tangang, they have actually done this really well. That I think it was with those Pussy Life farms, they got OG as their emission token, like their incentive token. They then made it so that you could purchase NFTs with OG, and the only way to get those NFTs. So I know
I'm not going to shit on it because I don't know enough about it. But what I'm saying is that's an example where you keep pushing
you're pushing it down further.
Down the line.
Yeah, but then you've got to.
That's me not knowing
the NFT.
The rest of it. So Tangang, don't come and shoot me because I don't know enough about what you've done with Pussy.
You got to look out for
throwing oranges at you in the street. Just shame.
I'll get oranges pelted in the back of my head as I'm walking down the street.
That's right. Just from cars, you're just walking your dog, and they're just oranges coming at you.
Yeah, so you got to look at systems that capture that thing, and I don't know enough about all the fame and all that, but I think the GMX forks do that pretty well, I think.
One good thing that I noticed that the Tangang did with that is that they didn't just make those NFTs exclusively purchasable with OG. They made them some of those NFTs purchasable with Pulse, purchasable with HOA, purchasable with whatever. So then it still has value. It's a way of, again, value transfer, I guess. Yeah. It's all a big ratio. It's a series of ratios.
I'll give you an example of why I got involved with the liquid loans team, was because that was one of the first protocols I looked at and went, holy shit, these guys have actually got all the incentives right, and it feeds back into the system and you earn the fees on it. It's a closed loop, but it brings in fee paying people. So you're paying a fee to originate your loans, to do redemptions, to do all of that.
So that makes sense. So
there wasn't like this, although loan token at the moment it's got a pretty heavy emission schedule. It's not a token that is a throwaway token.
Well, the APR on it wasn't too bad. It was 60 something %, wasn't it? Just from staking it.
Yeah, look, I'm not sure about that number, and I'll tell you why I'm not sure about that number. I don't know how that's an average. Sorry, that's a yearly one.
Yes,
but the fees aren't regular. It's based on when loan origination happens. So if you had a bunch of loans originate at the very beginning, and then you look adding that into the yearly average, it's not representative of what you're actually getting today. So I think that probably needs to be done on a 7-day rolling average, just so it gives you a bit more indicative value.
It's good to know.
The stability pool, that's different. We can see that a bit more because we know how much loan tokens getting in, the emissions are into the stability pool. So that's a different story. And that is heavy emissions for year one. So every year that'll have a halving event.
Right.
So what you've got to look at, you've got to look out 5 years into the future and go, okay, so that we have a yearly halving event on the emissions of loan token, so they're going to reduce by half every year. But if the price of Pulse is going up every year and more value in loans is getting generated every year, then over time, that token should become more valuable. People are way too short-minded when they look at these things because they're not looking, okay, what can the value locked in this protocol be in 5 or 10 years? That's what you've got to look at.
Good point. Yeah, I think a lot of people as well, the same thing with just looking at, Pulse and Hex and things like that. It's like, you say, oh, well, the price of Pulse is down today by 2% or whatever, but Bitcoin was up. And it's like, yeah, so was a whole bunch of other, L1s and things like that. But you've got to think in the future, and you've got to think, well, PulseChain is just lightning quick. People have got their copies. When it comes bull run time, and Ethereum, just to do a swap is costing you, $30 or whatever, and $100 just to, or even to send. I mean, say $20, but say over $100, $200 just to do a swap. It almost becomes unusable. Then the chains like PulseChain and things like that are gonna start to get. But you have to think in the future.
Who would you put in the black sheep of the family, in not just like look across the crypto landscape? What do you consider the black sheep?
Oh, like in terms of the one that no one wants, the like the rest of the community, crypto community don't want to talk about Hex, like as in like saying that
what
it's
other
a scam
ones?
or something like that.
Layer ones and things like that as well. What else?
Oh, that's a good question.
So PulseChain is definitely in that.
Yeah,
I don't know how long
basically
it takes
anything
before you're not a black sheep. Yeah, anything RH is a black sheep at the moment, which is fine. That's opportunity. Yeah. Hurts a little bit, but that's opportunity.
Oh, look, who cares? I always think like, I don't really care what influencers, are sort of saying.
Oh no,
because
when
they
I say
changed
hurts,
their tune.
Yeah.
And then they'll be on the bandwagon in 6 months. They'll be, oh, I always knew, and they'll just.
I'm not talking from a feelings point of view. I don't give a shit what they say, but just from a price point of view, when you see things running quicker than.
I feel like I sort of a bit of a like in a way because of all the hacks and vulnerabilities. People have been talking down about that so much, but then you look at the price performance recently, and it's like, yeah, holy crap! So whether everyone's just speculating on that or whether it's going to have a big use case, but it seems like you can't keep that one down.
Yeah. What about Tron?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely because it's Justin Sun, isn't it? That's the yeah, that's hasn't been spoken of much. So people are all, jumping ship. Oh, Solana's the next big thing, and then I changed my mind. Actually, it's AVAX, and then actually it was always Arbitrum all along. It's like they're literally just chasing green candles. But Tron, I haven't heard many good things about Tron.
That is
got put off Tron.
Mover. That's the biggest mover of stablecoins.
Okay, but not wash trading sort of stuff, like not just volume.
No,
in just back and forth.
Like, you speak to a lot of the guys in India. That's what they use. It's cheap.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So I got put off Tron early, like I'm talking in like 2017 and early 2018, I guess. When I was like, I was chasing Tron pumps and things like that back and forth. And I remember looking at their white paper and it was terrible. It was the most junky white paper. It had all these Star Trek references in it. And I was like, you are shitting me. And I was like, sell. I couldn't sell fast enough. It was legit. There were all this Star Trek stuff in there. And then I think I was talking to Tangent. Shout out to Tangent. This is probably like a year ago or something. And we were laughing about it. And then I went and looked at the white paper and it had cleaned all up. It was really professional. And it was like, okay, they got rid of all that shit. So, but I've never really used it apart from just buying it on exchanges and getting wrecked by it about 6 years ago.
Yeah. And I'm not saying Justin Sun's a great guy or anything. I think he's probably got a few things that he's done wrong with, I think it was Steam it and things like that, that he's tried to take over. Whatever, but
he's a main character for sure. I mean, you've got Duke Wan in jail, Machinsky in jail, SBF in jail. It's like Justin Sun, not he's still standing.
Yeah, so I think the
CZ.
Well, I guess Binance.
I didn't think CZ was going down. He must have he's probably being compensated in some regard.
Yeah, I think there's a reason he's going down, and I don't think it's for being a scammer. I think it's just he got too big. He's a threat.
Oh, I speculated that he was the richest man in the world at some point, and people were like, "Who?" And I'm like, "Trust me." But but that's why I couldn't believe that he's got pleaded guilty and gone to jail, unless he just got thrown under the bus. Or
I think there's probably more going on than what we're privy to, mate.
Always is. Did you have any comments on the price at the moment, or like because you're pretty good with the charts and things like that?
I've got to be honest, I haven't really been paying a massive amount of attention to it. Like I don't get involved in the day-to-day price fluctuations. I've been busy doing things, and I'll look in every now and then and go, up, it's down, whatever.
See all exactly. They're not huge swings.
Yeah. So
I noticed this support at so it's 404578. That was like, I thought was this triangle that sort of bled down, came up, support, and then I got really bullish when it sort of retested it here, and I went on that massive parabolic run. I've noticed that it is wicking down and touching it. There's a couple of points there that it's wicked to. So probably people have got limit orders there, or they're just they're looking to buy it up. So hopefully we get a bit of a double bottom here, like a bit of a
we've definitely seen some shiny object syndrome going on. So
people chase pumps, like it's getting out of control for sure. But I mean, I sort of like the idea of buying the blood. I don't know, maybe I've just got like PTSD or something, but it's like I see these massive dumps and I'm like, oh boy, that's wicked.
I'm cheering the dumps even still. So
still, I know it's weird.
But Yeah, eventually we got to want it to go up too. So,
but still, it's not even 2024. It's not 2025. Like we're not. So unless you're selling, like, you know,
yeah,
I don't know why you would be selling pre-halving. Like,
people are just chasing other things, and there's obviously one project that's getting a bit of that attention now.
Speaking
and so people are guessing that if they're seeing a green pump now, that they're going to see a green pump in 2025, which is not necessarily true.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you going to say, Hexen?
Speaking of limit orders, what exchange or DEX is Tetra using? Do you know? I'm just wondering how much.
It's PulseX.
On there, it's using. Okay, yeah, cool. That's cool.
That was a big point of difference, I think, was that with 9-inch, I think that I don't know for sure whether they were using the PulseX pools or whether they were using the 9-inch pools with their limit orders, but definitely the Tetra ones use the PulseX pools, where it's just where you get the most liquidity and the least amount of slippage.
That's good. Maybe we won't see too much more downside because of that, because a lot of people will be wanting to have their limits in there, but who knows? You wouldn't want that much lower unless you're just putting a scratcher bet in. Otherwise, there might be a bit of resistance. So anyway, you never know.
I mean, it's still early days. We've got like goldfish, memories and things, and we're just like, what about now? What about now? But like, if you look at some of these things, this is a wrecked capital thing, but like, I'll see if I can zoom in.
McNuggets,
we're talking.
Hey, McNuggets.
Shout out McNuggets. He's a champion. And the Mrs. Hextop Publisher, I think, she's a legend too. So like if you're looking at the big picture stuff, you're kind of going, you've got these different phases. You've got the pre-halving period, and this is the COVID dip, which I think is like, and then so the halving, the previous one I think was May 11, which an interesting point. The last BTC halving, May 11, was exactly 3 years before the PulseChain launched. So we pretty much launched PulseChain on May 11, didn't we? I never noticed that before. But that's an interesting thing. So then you've got this post-halving period, and then so the pre-halving period that we're going into now, I don't think people can kind of look at history and say, well, it did a massive dip last time, because this was literally the vid that caused that. So it's sort of doing different things. But in terms of timescales, we're waiting for this green patch here. So you just got to be patient, right?
And that will come and go very, very quickly.
It will.
You got to be on your game when that happens.
And that's an interesting point as well. I mean, you got to think about these things a little bit, but in terms of like BTC, like, so if you think about when the final death knell of BTC, wherever, if you could call the magical top of this next cycle, that we're going into, from that point onwards, like stable coins obviously is sort of key to have taken profit your positions and whatever because then sometimes like Ethereum, I think had a all-time high. Was it 27 days after BTC last time? So some of them still, like maybe even altcoins or whatever, but there will be a point where stable coins will be key. And then like a year after the BTC top in the last cycle was the all-time low. And then that's maybe when the BTC dominance starts to kick in, where it's like you kind of really need to migrate back into BTC because it's outperforming everything else. And then now we've got this sort of pre-halving point where we're starting to, people are packing their bags for altcoins and getting ready for the parabolic run, which is an exciting time, I guess, but it's also a boring time because nothing's actually happened yet.
Yeah, but go back and look at that chart. You say that, but just because it's not going vertical, like there's been a nice uptrend.
Oh, for sure. Are you BTC you're talking about? In general, or
in general, the markets have been bubbling along okay.
Yeah, so PulseChain certainly is still doing the higher lows, higher highs, that sort of stuff. Actually, not higher high, but certainly higher lows there. And it's still in an uptrend. But BTC, but that's where I was just saying, in terms of like as a ratio, the BTC dominance has been out of control. Like BTC has been outperforming Ethereum since the Ethereum merge, quite significantly. But yeah, it's been on a tear for sure. And that's what I was saying. So I don't know, maybe I said it too like flippantly, but it's that sort of all-time high to all-time low is the 12 months, the 52 weeks. And then at this point, if you transition into BTC, well, maybe for next cycle, that's what I'm saying. It's like that at that point, you may find that BTC, ETH BTC, for example, BTC has actually been outperforming ETH ever since the merge. But there will be a point where this, I think,
and the BTC maxis are pretty proud about that at the moment. I reckon they might be in for a bit of a shock. Zoom out a little bit on that chart. I reckon they might be in for a little bit of a shock.
They will be.
Oh, I think it'll flip. I think they take their turns. I think it's like Bitcoin goes first, Ethereum second, and then alts. I mean, that's the general idea, but it's a bit pie in the sky.
Yeah.
So you might see a bit of a trend reversal here at some point.
So there's a comment from Somi there.
Somi, my man.
Oh, mate, look out.
Great streaming. Rate cuts coming 2024. That is interesting. Yes, definitely. S&P 500 drawdown after first rate cut is 27%. Doesn't happen instant or linear. Hopefully alts get big. I don't know, BID.
Bid.
2024. Big bid. I know what he's saying in terms of the interest rates. I think they're definitely on pause. And they will probably
as of next year.
I think there's going to be a Fed pivot for sure for hawkish to dovish. So this is the sort of targets that they're the probabilities of the Fed rate cut. So they're saying 85.5% no change. But yeah, so and then I think that's for the end of Jan. Yeah, January 31st is the next Federal Reserve meeting. So yeah, 2024 I think could be very interesting, and it's a halving year. I mean, shout out to Somi. I listen to him every night.
Election year.
It's an election year. It's an Olympics year. Correlation is not causation. That's funny, isn't it? Like, correlation is not causation. So it could just have been the Olympics this whole time.
Money's got to come from somewhere for that shit, doesn't it?
No, I'm just joking. But it's like, how it's like every 4 years there's a halving, and it's like also an election.
Do you think? I don't know whether Bitcoin was intentionally launched to coincide with financial cycles, or whether that was a fluke.
Well, I think it was launched as a result of the GFC sort of at the time.
But do you think it was held back to launch when do you think they timed that?
I think serendipity. I think maybe serendipity there, because I think it was more of a launch out of frustration, and then it just so happens that the halving happens to be on a presidential election. It does work well, and I think Somi's got a great point that 2024 could be very interesting. Did you guys have anything else in particular you wanted to share with the crew?
No, I think I've waffled enough.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about mid 24 sort of onwards. I reckon we're going to be in for a good time, and good, few jet skis and all that sort of stuff will be pretty set.
Jet skis for the win.
Yeah, but I got a question for Somi if he's still here. When merch, because I could do with one of those cork hats because the flies are getting pretty horrendous out here. So.
Oh, that will cost you all of about $2. That hat down at the local Red Dot.
Good to see his face. And my image, you know how you have an image of someone in your head when you just only hear them. I was pretty close, and seems like a good bloke. Or see you next Tuesday, as he likes to say. So
yeah. No, I pretty much had him pegged for South Sydney, or sort of not South Sydney, but like a Sydney sort of Western Sydney sort of cider. I was just surprised that he was like so jacked and like good on him. He obviously works out. So shout out to Somi.
He's telling us he's down the gym all the time, so proof's in the pudding.
Look, he has been talking about doing squats. He talks about doing squats and not eating soy and eating protein and having a good posture. So it does make sense. It all adds up.
No, he's got some adorers now. I can tell you, Somi. Your some of the comments that came off the back of your first stream where you done your review. Everyone wants to marry you, I think, buddy.
Well, crypto's a sausage fest anyway, so he's probably not in too much trouble.
You reckon someone was catfishing him?
No, I just mean like he would have more adoring fans if it was like if the ratio of women in crypto was higher. But most of them are men, and they're just like high five. That's good for you. But I was going to say the court listener thing. You know how there's this RH the hearing now that he's been pseudo served. And is it in end of Jan?
I think 30th of Jan or something rang a bell. I don't quite get that one.
I noticed there is a way. I saw this. I got this off someone. I think it was that Herb guy who's the lawyer on Twitter. But he was saying you can put alerts on, so you can sign up to Court Listener and just put like a track. I can't see it now because it's got this stupid donate thing, maybe. But you can wherever it is, figure it out yourself. I'm sure people can find it. I did it. It's easy to do.
Did you read? Sign up. Did you read the RH tweet that came out?
He came out swinging. He came out swinging hard. I noticed.
Yeah, that was maybe it might give us a bit of an insight into what he's thinking and the approach he's talking about taking. But
look, I mean,
has anyone ever taken the SEC for damages or personally?
Personally, I don't think so, but I think you're right. And I read between the lines exactly the same as what you did. Was that he's saying, well, if Gary Gensler is going to come out and slander a whole bunch of coins and things, and then he's going to affect the market in a way, but then in doing so, he's saying that he's not representing.
That's right. So either you are, or you're
then who is he representing? Himself? Because if you are, you're just now opened yourself up. You're liable for damages.
Yeah. So you're in a catch-22 situation then, because either you're representing the office,
yes,
or you're not, and if you're not, then are you manipulating securities? And if your argument is no, well, I'm not manipulating securities because they're not securities. Well, then okay, well then they're not securities, are they, buddy? So
exactly. Yeah. It's a great line of thought where if you're a lawyer, you could just be going, hang on a tick, you've got to pick a side here, because if you're saying that there are securities and that you don't represent the SEC and you're manipulating the market, well, now you're in trouble.
Yeah, and that's right. And you can show exactly where they manipulated the market because it paints it on the chart. So
on the chart, so they may have let themselves open. They don't realize that that RH is like playing 4D chess with this shit, and he's going to school them. So
what they don't also realize is they're playing in a global market, but treating it as though they're the only market.
Good point.
So if you've got stocks, if you've got equities listed on United States exchanges, then they can control that and that's in their wheelhouse. But if this is a global market and they're affecting a global market that has nothing to do with what they choose to do in their own land, and that's why they're trying to tie this down to bloody someone used Uniswap, which is based in Brooklyn, because they've got to try and show some sort of jurisdiction,
local jurisdiction.
But that doesn't stop other countries having a go at them and saying, mate, you may be doing what you want to do in your country, but you're affecting people over in our country. So,
it's a long draw of the bow, is like the phrase there, because they're just trying to say that, oh, well, because Uniswap was somehow based in New York, so some tenuous link, that therefore they have jurisdiction. It's like, hang on, the rest of the world exists.
They got some guy that spent $100 on Uniswap.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. Is there anything else, Hex enthusiasts, who wanted to shout out before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I'll go again. I don't know. People are seeming, you see all this, the impatience of people on Twitter and YouTube streams and stuff like that about when something's going to take off, or when RH, he's disappeared on us and all this. It's like everyone is thinking so short term. It's been like 3 weeks or 2 weeks since you might have heard from him, but just 3 weeks ago we got this like 45-minute voice file of him just dropping alpha and stuff like that. And it's just like, what can you really expect? People are busy and all that. And if you can't see how this is all eventually going to fall into place, I tell you what, you'll be in for a shock when it takes off on you and you haven't got in. So I just think, I think a lot of people would have conviction at the moment. A lot of people seem to not. But yeah, I think it's pretty good. And yeah, somebody does a good job at sniffing chairs, So there you go. And that's all I got.
I don't know. He's doing the Troy Buswell. I agree with what you're saying. That people got to think long term, and you look at the DESI discount, for example. There's things out there if you're willing to sort of think long term. That I think accumulating, that was a good point. Who was it? Accumulation Zone, Logi 33. And when they start to go up, like you say, you might be surprised how few coins you may be able to get with the same amount of dollars. So that's why DCA does work. Shout out to the chat, Spike. We've got a few people here. So I was just going to wrap it up. Did you have anything else, Jexa, that you wanted to say?
No, I'm all good, mate.
All good. Okay. In that case, I will have one last shout out here to the Tangang, because they have their free mint Fridays. Class did one last week with the Vitruvians. If you go up to the More tab here, Sloth is doing one. So that might be an interesting one if you're up and about. But they
what's this?
Sloth.
So Tangang, they do free mint Fridays. It's pretty early in the morning our time, but
so it's a stream, is it?
It's a space. If you go on Bullish's space, and then basically they have a time, so they give out. You can mint a whole bunch of NFTs if you've got some HOA, and but Sloth is doing one. So because Sloth is a champ. He's done lots of good content over the years. If you follow him on Twitter or if you follow him on YouTube, but all to do with Icosa and Hedron and all that sort of stuff. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's some utility for these later down the track, because he is a gun, like you say. So I don't know if you can nab one of these, but you have to get up pretty early, I think, to get a free one is what I'm thinking.
So to get a free one, it's 50, right? And you got to be the first 50 to get in there.
I'm not sure how many they're minting for free. If you could be right, it could be 50.
Look at the teeth, bloody good teeth.
He's put a bit of effort into it. Good on him. Yeah, this AI is pretty sick these days, so you can do some cool shit. But there might be some. But anyway, it's Free Mint Friday. People know what it is.
Before you get off, before we finish off, did I hear right that Klaz on her show is giving away a box set of the highest?
Yeah.
Come on, man!
She is indeed.
Get that out. That's amazing. That's huge.
Yeah. Klaz is doing a stream. She's giving away a bunch of Christmas stuff. And I think it's a box set, for the highest of stakes. So for anyone that hasn't seen it yet, check out Klaz's thing. Sloth is a dentist. There you go.
That's what I was talking about. Hey, come on.
Okay, see, there you go. I didn't know that. Or maybe I did, but it was back in the recesses. So basically check out Klaz's stream. I think it's tomorrow morning our time, and she's giving away a bunch of stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I think there's a box set of the highest of stakes. So why not?
Amazing.
Cool. Thanks guys for joining me for the happy hour, and thanks for the chat. And we'll see you again next Friday. And enjoy your weekend. And hope you guys have a good Christmas week in the meantime.
Catch you later, guys.
Catch you guys. Thank you. See you.